In our national lead, the Trump administration plans to roll back proposed rules requiring airlines to compensate passengers for some disrupted flights, siding, in effect, with the corporations, not the consumers. The rules were first proposed during the Biden administration, but in a document posted yesterday by the White House, the Secretary of Transportation announced that the Department of Transportation is going to abandon that proposed plan. Pete Buttigieg was, of course, Biden's Secretary of Transportation, and he joins us now. Secretary Buttigieg, I see you there at the gate at an airport. Tell us about these proposed rules and what consumers can expect now that the Trump administration is abandoning them.
So the idea of this proposed rule was to make sure that you could get compensation for your time if you are in one of these extreme delay situations or if your flight gets canceled. This is the norm in a lot of countries, Europe, UK, Canada. Passengers have enjoyed these rights for years, not so much in the United States. And so during the time that I was secretary, we launched a process to get these rules developed. It looks like under President Trump and Secretary Duffy, they are canceling that process. So passengers will not have that protection. And they're also indicating that they might be rolling back other protections, other rules that we had finalized, rights that you and I have right now as a passenger that may be at risk, may be rolled back based on some of the preliminary filings we've seen from this administration.
Transportation Department statement to CNN says that the department will, quote, implement all aviation consumer protection requirements mandated by Congress, unquote. Is that enough?
Yeah, let me translate that. In plain English, what that means is they will not do anything to protect passengers unless Congress makes them. We did everything we could within the authorities that Congress provided, and that meant going above and beyond the minimum, using the legal authority the department had to do things like make sure that you did get your money back automatically, to set strict rules on how that would work, to hold airlines accountable on things like their promises around seating you with your family, transparency around fees, so many other things that I think are really important. Look, the reason we did this was because so many passengers were having such a frustrating experience with the way they were being treated by airlines. And I think that it's very important for a department to stand up for passengers. But I got to tell you, in the Trump administration, we're seeing decision after decision that tilts in favor of corporations and against consumers. With credit cards, they've allowed banks to increase junk fees and late fees. With the FTC, you've seen this conservative push that means that now it's easier for companies to trap you in a subscription that don't want. And, I always wondered if that was going to, or when that was going to happen on the airline side. Now it looks like it's underway with this news. And again, some signals from the Trump administration that they might be clawing back more passenger protections that, as of today, we already enjoy.
I know you're at a real airport because I hear a crying baby behind you. That's how I know it's legitimate. You're at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport right now. We've seen a lot of travel disruption this year because of outmoded equipment and air traffic control towers. The Trump administration routinely blames the Biden administration and you for not doing anything. Were you aware of, for example, the air traffic control problems at Newark Airport?
Yeah, of course. That's why we did things like launching the contract to modernize the technology. Now, when the Trump administration came in, they stopped it or paused it to see if they could give it to Elon Musk. As I understand, that contract is now back up and running. But look, this is one area where I support the things that the secretary says he wants to do. There are definitely things that we saw needed to be done when we inherited the air traffic control system that we inherited from the first Trump administration. We moved the ball as far as we could. I'd like to think this is a bipartisan cause where so many of us, including obviously me at the moment changing planes, are members of the traveling public who depend on a safe, strong air traffic control system. This shouldn't be a partisan football. This is something the whole country should want to get done.
I know your flight's about to board. So before I let you go, though, I have to ask you, or should we expect to see you campaigning for Democrats during next year's midterm elections? And have you made a decision about running for office, including president in 2028?
So yes and no in that order. Definitely too soon for me to make any big career decisions, but definitely not too soon to be doing everything that I can to encourage and promote and support candidates that I believe in, causes that I believe in. This is such an important moment for our country. And I know there's a temptation among a lot of people, I think, especially in my party, to kind of tune out because there's so much bad news about freedoms being taken away, harm being done in our country. But I think that means we need to redouble our efforts to put forward better leadership. Look, we know that the American people don't like what they're seeing under the Trump administration. The Republican agenda is clearly so unpopular that one of their biggest efforts right now is to change the way the districts are being drawn in the middle of the decade because they know even on today's maps, if they just ran on their ideas, they would lose. That's something that should signal to us that we've got to go into these fights with everything that we've got. And as a private citizen, I'm going to do everything in my power to help.
Pete Buttigieg, thanks so much. Appreciate your time, and you better go catch your flight.
Will do. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.